Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
What a delight we have today, because it's not just that it is the rare Greg Cody Wednesday. It's not just that Amin Elhassan has bombed in because he's got a lot of opinions on a lot of things. Stugotz has disrupted the entirety of our chemistry around here because he has decided that he wants to be in the shipping container, I believe, for the first time ever at the beginning of a show, because he simply wants to be closer to Tony.
It is jarring seeing him in there.
It's weird, right? It doesn't, I mean, what are we going to do? You're sitting in the Stugotz seat. Greg just said to me, I feel bad. And he was saying he feels bad because he thinks he should be in the shipping container as if that's a demotion. When it's not a demotion, it's a promotion to being near the lovely scent of Tony's masculinity.
Yeah, listen, Tony's only in, a day or two a week. And when he's here, I like to be close to him. And so this way, I am close to Tony. You'll find me sitting on his lap at some point. I love Tony.
Odd. I've always thought of the shipping container like the back of the classroom. It's not a demotion, Greg. It's quite the opposite. It's like the people who sit up front, we're really engaged and we're doing this thing. Like whatever the teacher's talking about, we're right there with.
Yes.
The back of the class, so that's where the jokes happen. That's where the cool kids are hanging out, and that's where the cool conversations.
Amin rather be back there.
I would.
Amin doesn't like to be in here as much as he likes to be in the other room just flinging feces.
Well, I didn't mean it as a demotion, and Amin is exactly right. And when I was a school kid, way back in the day, we used to pass notes because we didn't have a way to text yet. And so way in the back of the classroom was where the note passing happened, where the little quiet giggling happened. It was the place to be.
Greg, I love that you brought back passing notes. We should need to do that on the show more often. Passing handwritten notes. We do that a little bit here, not so much in the shipping container. But let me just tell you right now, kids, they don't text in class anymore. You know why? They make them put their phones in the little cubby before the class starts. They can't text each other. Yeah.
Wow. That's all kids, all schools. Are we still doing spitballs? Is that something that still exists in a classroom? Is that something?
How else do you get someone's attention?
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, Juju. Are we still doing spitballs in classrooms? Tony, are you comfortable? Our HR department might not be good with some of what Stugotz is doing right now with his power.
Look at you flexing HR. I mean,
I didn't know we had HR here. That would have been good to know like 4 years ago.
We just got it.
I want to see Stugotz on Tony's lap before the show ends. I just have to see that.
Let's not.
The visual is
The
lovely.
thing is, I stand throughout the show, so it's either I have him on my shoulders or that's it, because I don't really sit.
I'll take the shoulders.
Yeah.
Tempt them.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chat from the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I need some assistance here from the group, because all I've got in all of the people that we have here today that is really excited about baseball is Jeremy. Now, Billy is creeping closer to caring about the last couple of weeks of baseball. He was watching Ohtani on his phone. You can't make that noise and not you. You checked in on a Marlins game last night on your phone. You can't go when you're checking scores on your phone of a team that's 40 games under 500.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're making it seem like I don't care. I do care, and I do regularly check in, but I'm keeping an eye on this Ohtani situation because he could be the first player ever to be a member of the 50-50 club, and he could do so here in Miami. He's 2 home runs and 2 stolen bases away from that. Now, they're here for 2 more days, so what I'm doing is I'm keeping an eye on it to know if I should buy tickets for Thursday's game or not. Like, in the quest for history, I would like him to get close to history tonight, but not too close. Honestly, like if he could knock one of the 2 categories of 50 out of the way tonight, that would probably be close enough for me.
No, you want him to do one of each tonight, 49, and then get the bonanza on Thursday.
Of one of each?
One of each, 50-50.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I want enough progress to be made tonight so I have to make a decision as to whether or not I want to go Thursday. I learned in Ichiro's quest for 3,000 hits that going every day hoping to see it happen is a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand. I would go and he needed 3 hits. And it's like, is Ichiro going to get 3 hits tonight? Like, no, realistically not. He's a pinch hitter. He's not going to even have 3 at-bats. So I learned the hard way. With this Ohtani situation, I need to go when the time is right, so I need him to make progress today. He made progress yesterday. I need more progress today, and then you will maybe see me there on Thursday if I'm allowed to go.
It seems like this happens to you all the time, though, because didn't you go to Miguel Cabrera's thing, and that also happened there? And then the Ichiro thing, too, so you're like 2 for 2 on trying to go see history.
Ichiro happened in Colorado, correct?
We don't need to go down this path again. Yes, Ichiro happened in Colorado the day before they returned to Miami because Don Mattingly decided it was time to give him a spot start after he had been pitch hitting for months. Let me give him a spot start. And sure enough, the day before they returned home to Miami, after they've been tricking people into coming to watch their games for months, he does it the day before they return home with a triple that just got over an extended outfielder's glove and then hit the wall. His only hit of the day. That we don't need to go over that again. And in terms of Miguel Cabrera did his part to an extent. He did his part in that the day before he got 3 hits and he was 1 hit away. And then I said, you know what? After Ichiro did this dastardly deed to me that he made me do all of this for nothing, I need to go see this 3,000th hit. So I went up to Detroit, and he didn't get a hit. And then the next day, the game was rained out. And then my quick, trip to Detroit for, a cup of coffee up there one day, maybe back the same night, maybe back the next day, turned into a full weekend's worth of things. And then it became a situation where I had the tickets, but I needed to buy tickets the next day. And then they made it a split doubleheader, so you needed 2 different tickets to get there. It was a whole fiasco. It ended up happening on a Sunday, but it should have happened much sooner.
You were in Detroit for like 5 days.
It was a whole thing.
Took a long way to get there, Billy. It really did. To the end of the story is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Listen, chasing history is a very tricky game. It is. I mean, you never know.
How is it that you two can be sitting or standing that close to each other and not know that the other one was going to talk? So that you how is
it's
it
totally fair?
How is it possible that
No,
you and Tony talked at exactly the same time when you couldn't be closer to communicate?
Actually, I think we're not close enough. You're right, Dan. That's on me. It's not on Tony. Totally on me. We're not close enough. I'll get closer.
I wondered the same thing.
It's hard to imagine what just happened there. But one of the things that I wanted to do, because I'm going to try and get the group enticed with baseball. I know it's going to be hard. But
Why do you keep saying that? We love baseball.
Good question.
I keep saying that because every time I've tried to talk about it over the last 3 years, nobody but Jeremy wants to talk baseball with me.
He's chatty, that's why.
Yeah, he just wants mic time. He'll talk about anything you want. Talk to him about crochet. I'm sure he has thoughts.
I've been talking to our Meadowlark metrics people, okay? And one of the things that they've been saying for 3 years is the way to get all of the metrics up is to have hot takes, and that's not really generally it's not generally what I do. However, I have a hot take today. It is a rare thing for me, but I believe that I'm going to say something that that is surprising at the very least, because what Ohtani is doing, there is no precedent, obviously, for this kind of player. Somebody who, when he's healthy, can hit 50 home runs and also be someone who's a dominant pitcher. But I actually think that the rarest thing he's doing is the stolen bases at that size. It's like seeing Babe Ruth being able to steal 50 bases. The guys that are that power hungry generally don't bother with the risk of getting injured stealing bases, because what's the point of stealing one base when you're really good at taking all 4 of them at one time?
That's a fair point. I've always thought the stolen base was a little overrated. I think the stolen base is overrated. And here's another thing I take, and I hate to say it because Ohtani's a wonderful player, best in the game. The whole arbitrary celebration of 50-50 is a contrivance. I feel that way about a lot of milestones in sports. Okay, why not 45-45? Let's celebrate that and not worry about whether he gets to 50 or not. I think he's not setting a record. It's not a record for most home runs.
No one's done 50-50.
I understand that, but it's an arbitrary, contrived milestone is all I'm saying. He's not setting a record. It's not somebody's 750.
No Dodger has ever hit 50. You don't care about that?
No, not really. I mean, look, he's a great player, and he doesn't need a milestone to be seen as even greater. That's my, the idea of, and with due respectability, the idea of making a special trip to a ballpark to see history made, it's arbitrary history. It's sort of a contrived milestone. It's if you're a fan of that team, celebrate it. But for all of baseball to celebrate it, I think is a bit much.
I was about to get upset. Then the more Greg talked about it, the more I'm coming on his side. It is just kind of a number.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already the only member of the 48 club, right?
Yeah, he is.
Exactly.
When did we didn't make? I didn't see any fanfare about that. What is it about 50 that makes it magical?
Yeah, it's crazy. That's in sports though. If it ends in a 0, we laud it.
But wait a minute.
Yeah,
he's right. I mean, it's just a round number.
It's the round number. That's what
It's
people
the
care
round
about.
number.
Okay.
And
America
the
Jack.
5 is an interesting shaped number.
It is. It's like it's got a gut, but also it's trying to like suck it in.
No
Got a
ass,
little
though.
bit in the front, a little bit in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8 is really the most voluptuous of the numbers, if we can
I
agree.
get horny. I get so horny.
8.
Yeah, we
Every
love
time I
8.
see the number
I'm an
8.
8 man.
Yeah, I am too. It's a good point, Billy.
Yeah.
I prefer the 2.
What?
Ew.
I don't know.
Nobody
What's
likes
wrong?
2.
2 is boring.
What does that mean?
2.
Deviant.
Awful. 2's awful.
2.
Don't
We don't want to
don't-
body shame it too, but like we could go to
shame
see
me.
Dr. Hochstein.
Don't shame
you know what I mean?
me about what I like physically from my numbers. Don't do that.
Is this the hot take? I mean,
Yeah, what is the hot take? Here's a hot take. If Babe Ruth came back to play today, I would not bother going to watch him.
It's a mediocre take.
Not
That's
interested.
not a hot take.
Not
That-
interested.
what Greg
an
said is a hot
all-time
take.
great. An all-time great came back via time travel, and he's the only person that has access to time travel. And he came back, or I guess he came into the future, and he's gonna play a game. And I tell you, I'm not interested in going to see that.
I'm not interested either. I'll tell you why. Because the whole thing is the mythology. Then you put him out there, and
he'd be
someone
terrible.
throws 105, and he's like, "What sorcery is this?"
Right.
I don't want to watch him turn into Greg Cody at the plate.
Thank you.
Go read for me how heavy the bat was that Babe Ruth swung, that he's going to try and hit
You
Zach.
can't trust anything that you read in those history books. No.
Zach Wheeler yesterday was throwing nothing but fastballs. Nothing. It was just fastballs. It was like 80% fastballs, and they couldn't hit any of them. The piece of lumber that Babe Ruth would be trying to get around very slowly on Zach Wheeler.
42 ounces on the bat.
I found it says 14 chicken eggs. That's how they used to measure things at the time of Babe Ruth.
He was Dominican.
He was Dominican.
Greg Cody, how long have you been married?
I have been married about 42 years.
You think 42 as an anniversary is as big as 50?
Yeah, I think they're all big when you get to be my age.
That's different, though. Many people have been married 42 years. It's not something to celebrate.
I can tell you this. My wife doesn't delineate. Like, she wants to be celebrated on every anniversary. And to her, 41 is the same as 40 or 45. Now, 50, again, because of all this mythology about worshiping numbers ending in 0, I don't deny that 50 is the golden anniversary. I don't deny it, but that too is a contrivance. 45 is huge.
48 is going to be hot.
But
Yeah,
it's also
right.
leaning very heavily on the sexiness of the number 5, right?
You said the number 5 has a gut.
But it's cool though.
Yeah.
nice caboose.
Yeah.
Dad
Right.
bod.
Yeah, it does.
It has no caboose. There's no caboose on
No
the
ass
5.
on a 5.
There's no
Well,
5
no
doesn't
ass.
have an ass.
Hold on. Which way is it facing?
No, yeah, well, that's what you said before. You said you couldn't tell the front from the back, but it's clear the gut's in the front. Yeah.
Unless that's the back.
I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe it is. That is the backside. Maybe he's got a flat tummy and a BBL. And we've been looking at 5 the wrong way this whole time.
That's why I'm telling you there's no confusing the number 8. Number 8 can be facing any direction, including right at you, and it's like, whoa.
It looks the same, yeah.
It's the voluptuous number.
Oh, yeah.
so horny.
So you guys don't understand how it is that I've observed over the years that you don't want to talk about baseball so much that you talk about voluptuous numbers instead in a way that triggers passion in the room. But I'm trying to get you to talk about Ohtani. And
Baseball
what does he
numbers.
Say? Don't love the number 50.
Well,
is
hold
what
on.
Greg Cody
You're
says.
the captain of this ship. We just follow your lead. You want to talk about football? We
Yeah,
talk about
I'm-
football. You want to talk
I'm the
basketball? We're here to
captain
talk
of the
about
ship,
basketball.
But I've
Yesterday
always
we
got
did
a
an
mutiny.
election
When you're
thing.
in charge, I've always got a mutiny.
Oh, falsehoods.
When you sit in that seat, now you got Stugotz behind you sniffing Tony.
What?
Babe Ruth was Dominican?
Yeah, of course, 100%.
What do you mean?
I mean, he was born in like 1890 or whatever. They were
Right.
bad at keeping records. There's a lot of records.
His name is George Herman Ruth.
Jorge Edman.
Herman.
Yeah, Jorge Edman.
Jorge Herman.
Jorge Edman. They added Ruth at the end because they're like, we got to give him something. There's been a lot of people back in, obviously we're relitigating history a lot of the times, and we're looking at and we're saying, hey, wait a second, he wasn't white.
When they got to Ellis Island, they looked at Ruiz and they said, Ruth.
Ruth.
Yeah.
That's what they gave him.
He was an orphan.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Was Babe Ruth Dominican? Because
Okay.
Well, hold on. Of Dominican descent, because it says he was born in Baltimore.
That's what they say.
Have you been to Baltimore? There's
Yes.
so many Dominicans there.
He's of German descent,
Allegedly.
according to his biography.
Herman.
Well, that's exactly according to his biography. That's what I've been trying to tell you this whole time.
Okay.
Greg, are you learning this for the first time?
Learning that he's of Dominican descent?
That Babe Ruth was not white?
I've heard rumors about that. I'm not hearing it for the first time, but I'm not seeing it in any legitimate biography of him. So
You're looking through all the mainstream media sources,
right,
huh?
and where are you finding it? I mean,
I'm from the streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
They talk about it in Baltimore.
okay.
there tends to be more accurate information on the streets these days than in the misinformation of wherever it is that you're getting your information on the internet. I believe in the streets more than I do in the internet. These
Watch
days.
The Wire one time. Maybe you'll learn something.
I am not going to be able to get you interested in baseball with even Jose Altuve being ejected for taking off his shoe. I want to play this video before the show today, and I want to ask you guys how unpleasant I should or shouldn't find this. I look over to my right while we're having breakfast, and sitting on the couch with one shoe removed, scratching his socked foot with the sneaker on his other foot is Stugotz.
Yeah,
And it made me think that you had athlete's foot and that was an inappropriate place to do that.
We're in the middle of the office, you're saying? I mean,
A breakfast, an office and the breakfast. Yeah, all of that.
When you have an itch, Dan, you have to scratch it. I'm not bending anymore. I've stopped bending about a decade ago, so I use my foot to scratch the itch, you know? So how do you play?
How did the group feel about this? Because I thought it was not only inappropriate, I didn't think it smelled particularly good either.
Really? Gross. Was it that he was in the eating area? Yeah. Was that it?
He
Commissary.
wasn't. Well, everything here is the eating area.
Right.
If you've seen people wandering around with food, scrambled egg, Stugotz often walks around with a single stick of bacon in his greasy hand with no
Yes.
with no
I do
napkin.
that.
You were so focused on my foot, you didn't realize I had a piece of bacon in my mouth. I mean, while I was scratching my foot with my other toe.
Do you guys think that this is appropriate in any way in a work setting
I
to
do.
take off your shoe and scratch the other socked foot with your sneaker?
Dan, as you know, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I feel like this is a great improvement. He's not using his hands anymore. I was really worried when you said he was scratching his foot. He was scratching his foot, and then he dapped me up. Good morning, Amin. Now that I know he was using his other foot, I don't really care. I don't come into contact
But
with
there's
his foot.
bacon on that hand. He's walking around. His breakfast every morning is without a plate or a napkin,
Yeah.
just walking around with a single stick of bacon in his greasy fingers.
But if you could shake one hand every single morning, would it be an actual hand or a hand that's dripping with bacon? I mean, come on. A bacon-soaked hand?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Everyone loves bacon, Dan. I mean, the taste, the smell, the touch, all of it.
Not I mean.
I don't intend to be argumentative, but we were waiting to talk baseball. And
Yeah.
you took us to bacon hands.
And scratching feet and stuff.
Yeah, like we're trying to stay on the baseball track here. Season's
Yep.
winding up. We're headed into the playoffs. Bunch of seam heads we have on this show today, and you just want to talk about bacon hands and feet.
Well, let's get to this Jose Altuve footage because, so to speak. Let's talk about the last 12 days of this season because of the wild card are intensely interesting if you care about anything that's happening here. This Padres game was amazing. I think the Padres struck out like 16 or 17 times. The delays caused wild pitches, and here's one of the delays because Jose Altuve has clearly grounded the ball off his foot, but is also a known cheater, and nobody believes anything that the Astros say about anything. This is what happens when Altuve grounds the ball off of his foot and then tries to prove to the umpire that they've got it wrong, that that's not a fair ball.
That hits Altuve's foot. They're going to say fair ball. Brennan Miller's going to say that ball didn't hit Altuve, and that's going to be the final out of the inning. Brennan Miller is not ingratiating himself to Astros players, coaches, or manager.
You got to ask for help.
You got to check with other umpires to see if it did hit Altuve.
Altuve needs to be pulled out of the situation. They need to keep him in this game.
They're going to say that's a fair ball, and it did not hit Altuve in the end of the inning. Josh Hader taking the mound here for the bottom half of the ninth inning. Altuve showing where it hit his foot. And now he's ejected.
Oh, man.
That's so bad.
So good.
That's so bad.
It's incredible.
Altuve takes off his shoe and sock to just show, look at this red mark on my foot. This is my proof that you got this wrong. You got all the technology in the world in order to get this right. Here's my foot, and he gets ejected immediately upon removing his sock.
My favorite part is as he does that, the ump looks at him like, what are you doing? Get out of here. Just a big shrug.
Well, I feel like that's what I should have done to Stugotz when he took off his shoe in the eating area.
What do you want from me? I can't bend.
I mean, you're hoping to get tossed at that point, right? Because like worst case scenario is you stay in the game and then you have like the weird like dirt on your foot inside your sock and you have to run around with that. You don't want that.
Even
like,
if he's got a red bruise on his foot, it doesn't prove
I'm with
that
you.
it was because the ball hit his foot.
I think it's gamesmanship, right? Like sometimes you go in the dugout or whatever, you punch yourself in the toes a couple times, just in the event that something like this happens. You know, like this may have been premeditated. We didn't actually see a replay where it hit his foot.
I can't believe anything this man tells me.
Premeditated?
Possibly, yeah.
What are you talking about?
Gamesmanship.
The guy wore a wire.
All right.
Yeah.
You're going to think punching himself in the foot is a new thing? Guy wore technology.
Yep.
You called him a cheater, Dan.
You did.
Yeah.
Banging trash cans.
You cannot eject him in that situation when he's simply trying to prove
You
to you.
have to eject him in that situation. He's
Ejectable.
taking off his clothes to show you up. What are you talking about?
He's not taking it off to show you up. He's taking it off to show you that you are incorrect and that he has the proof.
It's not proof, though. He could have suffered a bruise on his foot.
What are we doing?
Falling in the shower
Exactly right.
that morning.
That's
Baseball,
right.
Jeremy.
Which
We're
he
doing
probably
baseball.
did.
Baseball.
Oh, yeah,
Dan
you're right. My
wanted
bad.
baseball.
I'm
We're
sorry.
talking baseball here.
Right, super logical. I'm glad this
Could
is
have
where
dropped
we
a
want
bowling
it.
ball. on his
Okay,
foot.
Jeremy, what should he have done?
bowling
Not to get ejected? You just have a bunch of bare feet people? Why? Shoeless Joe's not in the Hall of Fame for a reason.
Shoeless Jose.
Shoeless Jose is what he was last night. You, Greg Cody, are somebody who is moderately interested in baseball. How is it that I get you to be interested in anything that's happening over these last 12 days? Because I'm at the point, and I don't know how many people in our audience are going to side with me here, I'm already checking tiebreakers.
Wow.
Oh, I love this.
Yes.
I love the math, the algebra you've got to do to figure out if so-and-so does this and so-and-so does this.
Yeah.
Who clinches the wild card?
See, I'm against the wild card.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I don't like
What?
I don't like wild cards in baseball. That's
At
number
all?
one.
Greg,
No.
it's been great.
I don't
It's
think
been,
so.
The only reason the last 2 weeks are going to matter is because of the wild
I
card.
know, but again, that's a contrivance. It's not real. It's
the word of the day.
if you get a wild card spot in baseball, the record shouldn't even say you made the postseason. Okay, I know the Marlins.
The Marlins won twice.
Yeah,
As the
exactly.
wild card, they won the World Series twice. You're taking them both
Exactly.
away?
I'm just saying the wild card. I'm talking about the latest wild card.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking about the recent expansion.
The expanded wild card.
Yeah.
He's not saying you take away the World Series. He's just saying you don't show that they made the playoffs.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, here's the other thing. Okay, this is a Miami-based podcast. If Miami had a baseball team that was worth supporting, I would tend to be more of a baseball fan. Okay, when my hometown team starts off the season 6-24, and by midseason has traded away anybody's heard of because the owner doesn't spend money, it does deter me from following the sport in general because I'm so dissatisfied and discouraged by the home team.
By the way, just to fact check here, the Texas Rangers who won last year.
Both the teams in the World Series last year were wild card teams.
Okay.
Yeah, and the new wild card, a 5 seed and a 6 seed.
Look, I'm still against it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But should the record show that there were no teams in the World Series?
No, they won the World Series. They just weren't in the playoffs.
But if the Diamondbacks
following
lost the
along.
World Series, they just didn't make the playoffs and didn't do anything, right?
Correct.
That season's
Yes.
gone.
That's one thing I used to appreciate most about baseball is that it had so few playoff spots that they were gold. They were something to be treasured, as opposed to the NBA and the NHL where almost half the teams make the playoffs. Baseball was great because it had so few playoff teams, and the more it adds, the more diluted it gets for me.
Video, can you please show obvious video of replay of Altuve clearly being hit in the foot with the ball?
I don't know about
I see a lot
that.
of dirt coming
Yeah.
up.
That
I
was the
don't
tip of
think
the
that
foot.
was obvious.
Oh, no,
come
no.
on.
Yeah,
no
he
way.
reached out.
And it clearly
Exactly.
changes
If anything,
angles.
he reached his foot out.
Greg was right
If-
about the
even
bowling
if.
ball. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd say that's insurance fraud. He hurt himself doing something else, and now he's trying to get himself injured at work.
Right.
This is what is happening with Greg Cody at this age, and I am assuming that most of the people in the audience will learn that their parents and grandparents will become this. It's not merely that Greg Cody is against learning. He is at this point incapable of changing his mind. He wants baseball the way that baseball was, and there is nothing that I can put in front of him that is going to change his opinion on this. He is a fully formed person on his opinions, and none of them are changing at this age.
Yeah, I disagree. I'm pro learning. You know, the others, they all learn from me. I'm a guy who learns. Every
is.
day of my life, I'm learning.
You hate to learn.
No,
you
I
don't
love
want
to
new
learn.
information
I
on
don't
anything.
want extraneous information.
Yeah.
I don't. When a home run is hit, I could give two shits the velocity
Why are
speed
you
of the
giving
ball.
two shits on
leaving-
that?
Because one's not enough. I'm double shitting.
This is behind the bit. This is behind the bit.
This is
behind the bit.
For the past 20 years, you've seen and heard bits on the Dan Le Batard Show, and you may have wondered to yourself, what are these bits? And what's wrong with these people?
I have the incongruent images of Chris Cody in a ridiculous car battery costume, dancing happily. He will ask all our guests today some awful car-specific pun while in that costume. Is it hot in there, Chris?
You need to pump the brakes on the negative attitude, all right? I am revved up for today's show. Let's do it!
All right, don't use all of your material yet.
Guys, this is just a speed bump, all right? We're going to get through this. Being a real negative charge right now, all right? We're going to need a positive charge from you.
What, Chris?
Really feeling the tire pressure today, Dan.
Just get out of here.
I was really stalling hard. Dan,
All
this
right.
is not the kind of suspension that I like. Producer must have thought you were a real dipstick.
You were so scared. Battery, tell the truth.
Real fluid situation. At the start, I was a little low, but then you kept saying to me, don't worry, I got this. Miles, this Sunday, who's going to be kicking tires and lighting fires?
You've got the car battery is struggling there. It is breaking things. It is hitting the microphone.
Vroom, 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 vroom.
How did this come to be, Chris?
This was our sales team doing a great job of integrating content into our show. This is something that Dan has yearned for forever, of just wanting sales to be creative, that we can do it in the show where it fits the show. This is just, I think, as well as we've done at incorporating a sales thing into content, because man, I just remember them sending me an email of just, hey, we're pitching this thing at Advanced Auto Parts, we're gonna need someone and we think you're the character to do it. And I'm just like, as I usually am, team guy, I'm just like, let's do it without really thinking. And then once I got in the costume and I was like, all right, I gotta, man, the rabbit hole of, because our audience are the ones that fed me. Like we asked our audience, feed us, what should be my puns? So I was getting a lot of those from Twitter. It was great audience engagement because people wanted to feed the lines, then they wanted to hear the lines that they pitched. And it was just, I had a whole sheet of just stupid puns that I could just find a window for. And that was a fun week.
Do you think the sponsor liked this bit?
Just like they say any news is good news, I think the sponsor liked this particular integration. I mean, it's a car battery with the name on it. You know, Chris Cody is saying car puns. So yeah, I think they enjoyed that.
It was the first time I was part of a sales thing. I felt like there was pressure. I didn't want to disappoint Advanced Auto Parts. I didn't want to disappoint Dan, but it all came together and it was freaking hilarious.
What did you think of it, Greg? Had you seen it at the time?
I'd forgotten it. It makes me smile to see it. And Christopher, the next time you're meeting someone for the first time and they say, hey, what do you do for a living? I just want you to show them a photo of you dressed as a car battery, because I don't think people fully understand what it's like to work on this show, to work on the Le Batard Show.
Weird requests. You get weird requests.
You may be asked to dress as Marie Antoinette one week. You just don't know. And that's a good example of that.
What costumes has Dan made you wear?
I would say the best costume was most recent. It was the bear costume. Where I was dressed up as one of the chefs on the FX show,
You mean
The Bear. What?
You mean Winnie the Pooh?
No, not Winnie the Pooh. I would never dress up as Winnie the Pooh. That seems more like a Chris Cody costume, actually.
The best part about that week, and we got to include this, is Dan yelling at a security guard. What happened was First Take was doing the show at the Clevelander where we were at, down by the pool, and they had taken over the whole pool area. And Dan was feeling like, why is First Take coming here? And now it seems like this is First Take's home. No, this is our home. Chris, I want you in the battery to go downstairs and be in the background of First Take, because this is our studio. They're only here because we're here. Advanced Auto Parts, not a sponsor of First Take. So this ruffled a lot of feathers. People at First Take were like, why is that Advanced Auto Parts battery there? They're not paying for that. So a security guard came up to me while I'm down there with my jazz hands and is like, hey, you gotta go. And I'm like, okay. So I left and Dan's like, no. This is my set. We're going back down there and I'm going with you. So Dan goes back down there with me. The same producer gets really furious of like, why is this battery back there again when we just said they didn't buy time on this? They can't be there.
Got a battery back there. It is a corporate sponsor. I want to, on air, take that battery down there myself and stand in the crowd behind First Take. Billy and Stugotz can handle whatever it is that we have to do there. I want to do that. Do I have permission to take? I want to put in the First Take shot both me. I'm not asking. I'm asking your assessment.
Dude.
as the authority given to me as eternal yes man to one Dan Le Batard. Knock yourself out, pal.
All right, let's go, Battery. We're going down there. Chris, you help the Battery get down there.
The battery has entered the shot.
Yeah.
Okay,
Briefly,
wow.
They have cut away. They have Derrick Henry on First Take right now. This is not terrestrial radio norms where you tell your audience to tune away. Supplementally, if you watch, there is a Battery and a Dan Le Batard at a bar.
Jiggling.
I believe ordering a drink in front of some bikini beachgoers that are sitting at the edge of the Clevelander pool. Oh, there is a producer trying to stop Dan Le Batard right now.
Oh, no, this is getting testy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my
There
God.
is an
Dan is in his
exchange.
face. Oh, boy.
Yeah, are you
All right,
seeing
this
this?
is a better idea. Forget about a happy place. Play-by-play of Dan and the security guard. This is great.
This is awkward as all get out.
All right, so me
Dan
and Billy.
This is the absolute strangest guy on.
Me and Billy are at Radio Row. We are watching through a television screen live footage right now of Dan Le Batard trying to get the Advanced Auto Parts car battery on the set of First Take and screaming at a security guard.
If you're watching ESPN News right now, you have a live shot of Dan talking to a security guard, pointing up at the ESPN Studio South Beach sign. I guess
This is my house.
This was specifically during Super Bowl week. If you notice, Jorge Masvidal was at Radio Row. That Super Bowl week in particular was in Miami. So, yeah, I mean, everybody at ESPN descended upon the city, and a lot was definitely going on around that time. And specifically, I remember Dan getting upset because ESPN basically didn't use him around the Clevelander, and they at First Take basically take over the entire property. So Dan and Chris, while dressed up as a car battery, went down and had an argument with ESPN security because he wanted it to take over that set for First Take, because I mean, this is quote unquote his town and this was quote unquote his studio, so he wanted to take over the quote unquote stage that Stephen A. Smith was on.
So there's a video, there's a photo, a still shot of Dan like just giving the business of like a producer in Dan's face, and Dan telling him, this is my, like you just like, you don't hear what he's saying, but in the video you see Dan like, no, this is my set, this is my, like, and Dan was standing up to the First Take producers basically saying, I can do what I want around here. And it was, and you see my jazz hands, because through the whole thing I'm hearing Dan, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. And I'm just like doing jazz hands with my stupid battery costume, and it was just, that's one of those things that in the moment it was terrifying, but in hindsight, it's freaking hilarious.
Did any of it actually air on First Take?
Yeah, it was on First Take where you saw me back there, because they're live. I remember walking downstairs for that time, like the second time, when Dan's like, we're going back down there, and I don't care what they say. I had a moment from Bad Boys 2 where I literally, Dan's like, are you good with this? And I'm like, Dan, we ride together, we die together. Like, what am I gonna like leave you here? Like, I'm in the costume, I'm going with you. Like, if we go down for this, we go down. So they were live and it happened, and there was definitely some, like, you know, Dan had the answer from producers, and there was some drama after. I don't remember the details of it.
Would anyone try to steal this battery?
I don't think anybody thought of stealing the battery. I think more along the lines of we thought of tossing it in the Clevelander dumpster on the alley once the advertisement flight was done, but there's really no use for it now. So if you want to steal it, we could just put it outside. You can take it away in a U-Haul or something.
Claire, what did you think of the talking car battery?
It was so funny. It was like super duper.
I think they get it, Claire. It was super duper.
Super duper, super duper.
They were super duper, Claire. They get it.
Super duper.
Okay, Claire's a star. Claire's a star.
Super funny.
One of my favorite visuals in the entire time we've been doing this was seeing through that black screen the horror on the face of your son, Greg, as all of this was playing out, but his hands never stopped moving. And so nobody could see that the mascot was scared. The mascot looked happy. But as I listened to that, I really am legitimately bothered that our own crew doesn't remember the details on why that happened. It was not because I'm like, ESPN is in town overrunning everything and it's my studio, my town. I was mad because they'd been charging our people, our cameraman, $9 per muffin downstairs, and all of a sudden, our people had to pay for the breakfast downstairs, and their people did not have to pay for anything that was happening. That's what I was mad about.
Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, I know what you think you're doing right now. Your clarification made it sound so much worse. It was a lot cooler. It was like, this is our studio. You guys aren't going to come in here and tell us what we can and can't do. Dan's like, you're going to charge us for food?
Yeah, Muffin Gate.
You sound ridiculous, but you have lost a lot of weight.
By the way, ESPN execs kept tabs on that, fired Chris later that year.
That's right.
Oh, ouch.
I'm not making up that the issue was that for 8 years, our camera people who could not afford the expensive breakfast downstairs were being charged for stale muffins. And then all of a sudden, the spread that came through during the Super Bowl was something that we didn't even have access to. Like, that's what I was upset about.
Yeah, but what Amin is saying, what Greg is saying, is your honesty is getting in the way of a really good story.
Yeah.
Stop being so honest.
Way cooler if you're like, because we see you pointing. When you point, like, people think, oh, he's just pointing at the camera. No, he's pointing at the ESPN sign above the Clevelander thing. He's like, this is our house. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
like, I want breakfast right now. Just sounds fat.
All right, point taken. It does sound fat. The part that I'm objecting to isn't this is my house. It's Roy's assessment. Dan was upset because ESPN wasn't using him.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, that's pathetic. Like, that's not in any way true, and it's simply pathetic.
No.
Like, that Roy's assessment would be Dan was really upset because during the Super Bowl, he had a great desire to be on First Take.
But then it's true. The Super Bowl is your favorite time of year. You're always wanting to be on Radio Row. You tell Stugotz, oh, let me go. And Stugotz like, let me just have this one thing. And Dan's like, no, come on, man. And so you were upset. Stugotz and Billy.
Did they
having
ask
fun.
you to be on First Take that week?
They did not.
Are you upset? I mean,
I'm enraged still. I'm still thinking about it. I try and hide it under muffin costs, but that's really where my insanity comes from. I just wanted to be sitting next to Derrick Henry.
Also, on a side, while we're watching this, I'm looking around at everyone's reaction to different funny times. The only time I saw Greg react was when he saw himself.
Well, I wondered why I was there sitting next to Christopher because I had nothing to do with this bit, so I didn't. Finally, I spoke, but mostly I'm just sitting there looking at Christopher.
Odd choice that I was not asked to sit down and
really
talk about how Roy's totally incorrect assessment that my rage spawned from not being on First Take.
I'm not certain there's a show you would least rather be on than First Take. Like, if I gave you a choice of all the shows and you had to choose one you don't want to be on, I believe it would be First Take.
You guys know how we only did it twice. One was to celebrate Randy Moeller's gold calls, and the other time was because we had to concoct some argument as part of cross promotions between the shows. And you remember that I didn't want to go on their show and do it their way, where I had to do argument television, but I was talked into let's do it for the sake of promotion. And I guess the third time we were on is when we were on in the background with your son as the car battery, and then he was soon thereafter let go.
Does that count as a First Take appearance officially?
I guess it must.
It does.
In the annals of the show.
On IMDb, he's got a credit for it. Baseball Tonight? Would you like to be a part of Baseball Tonight?
Oh, we'd love that.
Are they still doing Baseball Tonight?
I don't think so.
No. It's once a week.
Yeah.
Is it? What
Yeah,
time?
before Sunday Night Baseball.
Mm-hmm. See, us team heads know.
Yeah. They have a podcast, too.
They should do it on Tuesdays, no? Like, Tuesday should be the National Baseball Day of the week because no one's playing football. And it's the only day anyone's going to care about baseball.
Last night was Tuesday. Did you watch any baseball?
No.
Tuesday and Wednesday, I guess, right, is when you get a little bit of the football withdrawal at this time of year. But if I can't get you guys interested in what's coming on baseball now, I'm not going to be able to do it because this last 10 days are going to – it's already started. For all intents and purposes, it feels like the playoffs have already started because you've got some situations that might come down to the last game, and all of these games are really important. And a bunch of local fan bases are doing, well, I'm the Mariners. I kind of need to go 9-4 the rest of the way. Everyone locally in their region is doing that with their baseball teams. And how many teams are in it? Like how it's the thing about the wild card that has been so good is that these would not be meaningful games, Greg. Like all of these games that have huge meaning, like last night's Astros-Padres game, wouldn't matter under other circumstances. So you're really missing out on consequences, on stakes. It's a weird thing for you not to want with your sports.
Right. I get that. But when you play 162 games, it's too many, first of all. I don't want to follow any sport nonstop for most of a calendar year. I just don't. And, if the team that now needs to go 9-4 for a wild card spot is in that position, probably because they had a 4-game losing streak in May, So again,
the Mariners were up 10 on the Astros and coughed it up very quickly, but they're still in it.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to do this, Jeremy. I'm not going to be able to get Greg. There's no angle from which I'm going to be able to make him interested in this.
What about stars? Because there are more stars and up-and-coming stars in Major League Baseball right now than ever. You mentioned the Padres, Dan. Everybody thinks Paul Skeens is just going to win the Rookie of the Year because everybody's heard of Paul Skeens. Right. He has 21 career starts, right? And I believe he is only trailing Hideo Nomo, Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, and Doc Gooden in terms of strikeouts, right? In terms of ERA over 21 starts. Sure. Second all-time behind Steve Rogers. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year because Jackson Merrill, the center fielder for the Padres, has 24 homers. That's the third most ever in a rookie season for a center fielder. He's spectacular, been carrying the Padres that have all these other names that you've heard of, but yet aren't performing up to snuff. It's him and Jurickson Profar out in the West doing that for the Padres. Can that get you interested in this chase down the stretch?
Look, I recognize I consider myself to be a casual baseball fan.
Yeah.
I recognize that it's been a wonderful season for a number of different things. If all you told me was Ohtani and Aaron Judge, those two alone are just having spectacular years worth following. But, there's only so much bandwidth, and when my hometown team sucks and doesn't spend money.
Well, we can follow I've been following the Marlins to make sure they don't lose 100 games. They got to go 6-5 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
It's a big one last night. That was a fun game. That was a fun game yesterday.
That was a big one, yeah.
Well, that's the drama left in the Marlins season is whether or not they lose 100
Jeremy,
games.
I'm going to have to do something, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but I'm going to need to banish you, even though you're my ally here, and we will go to you for boring baseball reports during the show, but I'm going to need to send you away here because all of those stats, you lost everybody in the room with everything you were talking about.
Well, I got taken out of it when you were comparing him to these historic pitchers because I was thinking, wow, none of their careers ended up panning out. Like they all kind of had all this promise, and none of those names.
Steve Rogers.
None of those names were great.
Captain America,
Dwight Gooden,
Dr. K.
Wood,
that
wooden arm.
Do you think that story ended well for old Dr. K?
But he was
Jeremy out. I'm sorry to do this to you, but you have to read the room, and I have to read the room. We are outnumbered here for a number of different ways.
We're here. We're going down this path with you guys.
We love baseball.
Old Captain Mutiny over there.
America's pastime.
This is what I would like to present to you guys, because you specifically, Amin and Greg,
thank you.
because yesterday we did something, and I want to analyze this and basically the culture that we have here that I believe can be a feeding frenzy of negativity. We have seen, and Tony can speak to this as someone who loves Billy and hates Billy, we live in an environment where people will not only seize on your mistakes, they will, and this is strange for teamwork, enjoy the failures of their teammates more than the successes of their teammates. Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Do you enjoy the failure of your teammates more than the successes of your teammates? The reason I bring all of this up is I want to play for you again from yesterday what I believe to be the dream scenario in my favorite game show of all time, Family Feud. A friend of ours had the dream scenario. They were awful all game. This was an epically bad game, but at the end, Pablo Torre rushes in and feels so good that he seems like Russell Crowe in Gladiator in terms of confidence. Are you not entertained? When he's standing next to Steve Harvey after saying, "Thank you, John Legend," is something that he just said. In the middle of his star-bleeping celebrity life, he is winning here, and I felt that this clip, which I got a vicarious thrill from, that no one here was happy for him.
You need 37 points. Name a coin you throw into a fountain to make a wish. You said the penny.
Yes.
Survey said.
Oh my God.
Why?
Penny was the number one answer.
I want to ask Amin and Greg Cody why it was that I got nothing that seemed like happiness for someone that we care about around here.
Well, I think, first of all, why is Pablo wearing a suit? He's not hosting the show. Everyone else on his team is dressed kind of casually. Pablo shows up in a suit like he's going to take Steve Harvey's job.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
That's a good point. I also thought he got very lucky with that answer. My answer would have been 50-cent piece. But I'm surprised Penny won.
That would have gotten zero. A 50-cent piece. That would have gotten zero. Nobody would answer.
No one else would say that.
No one else.
No one of the 100 people surveyed would say that.
We're talking about a coin.
Yeah.
Okay, the more you invest in the fountain.
It was the number one answer.
Well, that's because.
We don't know that. Did he say that?
We're doing away with the coin.
It was. It got
60-something points.
Well,
but that doesn't make it right.
That's exactly true.
Look, Canada abolished the penny in 2012, and we're about to follow. It costs.
Are we?
It costs 2.1 cent to make a penny. So if you manufacture 7 billion pennies, you're spending over $14 billion to do it. It doesn't make economic sense. So the 50-cent piece.
It's an inefficient coin.
I don't think that math was right.
It's an inefficient coin.
It makes a better splash.
Exactly
the 50
right.
Piece.
And I get what Greg's coming from here. He's saying, you know what? You want to toss it into a fountain to make a wish? I want it to be as much wish as possible. Let me send the most valuable coin I can, and then it will be the most powerful wish I can make.
Right. You want to impress people.
Exactly. And press that fountain.
Everybody else is flipping pennies in there, and here's me with my big, shiny silver coin going like that. Everybody's oohing and eyeing.
You have it like the fast track at Disneyland, right? Like you
Yes.
flip that coin, and they're like, wait, right this way, Mr. Cody.
Right, exactly.
Right past all these other wishes.
Yes, thank you.
I would like to ask the audience by poll, is there such a thing as a 50-cent piece? Have you ever seen a 50-cent piece?
Yes.
I have not. And should the penny be abolished? I also want to go back and check Greg Cody's math on this because I believe he was Trump after the debate. I won 87-3. Like he was just making up numbers there. The 14. None of that math sounded right.
Okay, look it up.
He said it costs 2.1 cents to make a penny, and if you make 7 billion pennies, it costs you $14 billion.
Yeah, a little bit over. They're eating the dogs. No, I believe I'm right. Now, I would have to look it up.
Always do. You always believe you're right.
Okay, somebody vet me.
I have confirmed it costs 2.72 cents to make a penny.
Wow.
How about that?
I underestimated
Yeah, he
that.
underestimated.
Okay, but I was on the right track,
Yes.
Jack.
So it costs $14 billion to make
more.
$7 billion.
Yeah, more.
It's a horrible business model.
Do you? Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember. It just reminded me of my childhood. One of the wrestlers who was my favorite was the Great Kabuki. He didn't have any wrestling skills, but he would blow a mysterious blue mist in your face. Greg just threw a bunch of numbers at us, and he just blew a bunch of numbers at us, and he's like, and because he surprised us by having the initial fact, which was wrong, 2.1 cents to make a penny. We then got disoriented by everything that he said after that. None of the math on that seems like it was correct.
You got to give me credit for 2.1. I mean, the answer is 2.7. The point is we're spending more than twice what we need to spend to make an archaic, useless coin. When's the last time you used a penny?
Oh, he uses cash all the time.
Right.
I do actually use change on occasion, but most often what I do with change is just leave it for whoever it is I'm buying something from.
Well, now I'm wondering, Greg, how much does it cost to make a 50-cent piece? Because it seems like that's the way we could fix this economy, right? We just start printing 50-cent pieces that cost 12 cents to make, and we're making what? 38 cents a piece.
That's a very good point by you.
Yeah.
You know?
I want all of you to imagine Greg Cody in this scenario where he needs to get the number one answer and 37 points to win. And they're like, a coin you throw in a fountain, and now they flip
A shilling.
And he's like, a 50-cent piece. It would have landed like such a duck fart as punctuation. It would have been the opposite of Pablo's scenario, where Greg Cody is just staring around. There's a big giant X and a buzzer sound, and he just leaves the studio in shame because he's referenced a coinage that no one knows exists.
$200 points needed. I'm going to give you 20 seconds, 5 questions.
Okay.
And the timer is going to start after I finish the first question.
All right. 100 people surveyed?
100 people surveyed.
All right.
Best non-quarterback in the NFL in 2024.
Christian McCaffrey.
Worst NFL franchise.
Ever? Cleveland Browns.
Best songs that play in a stadium.
We Will Rock You.
Best football broadcaster of all time.
John Madden.
An adjective or noun that describes Tom Brady.
Beautiful.
Okay. Christian McCaffrey. 11.
What? Yeah. Wasn't he MVP? What the fuck?
Cleveland Browns. The number one answer. 35.
All right. Okay. Yeah, they are historically a bad football team.
We Will Rock You. The number one answer. 40.
Yeah, baby.
John Madden. The number one answer. 35. And then Beautiful. Not in the top. Not in the top.
Well, was Handsome?
No. I would have gave you. I would have gave
Like
you handsome.
derivative of beautiful, like attract. Like really?
I would have gave you
bullshit. Like
so, let me add these up.
100 people survey. Hot as shit is coming back. Like with half the answers.
So, before it gets to Chris Cody, you got 121 points.
Okay.
How are you feeling before Chris Cody goes?
I feel pretty good. I'm a little disappointed at the Tom Brady thing. Can't lie. I feel like Chris and I are a little like-minded in that he's probably going to also get 0 on that one because it's the first thing anybody thinks. I don't know where you found these people that you survey.
Mike Ryan already went. So you guys need 200 points combined. Mike Ryan got you 121 points.
Oh, so that means a lot of the good answers. Like, I know that offset, I'm like happy about that, but that means a lot of buzzards going to be coming at me.
You'll get 30 seconds. Mike Ryan had 20 seconds. If you repeat any answers, I'll say guess again.
Okay.
Time starts when I finish the first question.
Look at you, Steve Harvey over here.
Best non-quarterback in the NFL in 2024.
Travis Kelce.
Worst NFL franchise.
Panthers.
Best songs that play in a stadium.
We Are the Champion.
Best football broadcaster of all time.
Joe Buck.
An adjective or noun that describes Tom Brady.
GOAT.
Wow, that could be good. Oh my God. 79 is the goal. Travis Kelce, the number 6 answer, 13.
Okay. The Taylor Swift effect.
Worst NFL franchise, the Carolina Panthers, 0.
What did Mike say? What was the number one?
He got the number 1, Cleveland Browns.
Okay. Classic.
Best songs that play in a stadium.
I didn't like this answer by me.
We Are the Champions, 0.
What was number 1?
We Will Rock You.
Yeah, I almost said. Did Mike say that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I almost said that.
Number 2 was Thunderstruck, AC/DC. Best broadcaster
bad
of all time. Number 5, Joe Buck. 25.
Okay. Oh, wow. So I needed 60
Very
something.
close.
So now
Okay,
20.
7.
So I'm like 40 away, right? Something like that?
Wow, this is going to be close. You need 41.
That's only one answer left?
Yep.
I'm not going to get 41.
An adjective or noun that describes Tom Brady.
Give it to me.
You need 41.
That's a lot of people to say GOAT.
GOAT is the number 1 answer.
Not 41. It can't be.
40.
No! Are you kidding me? No! Just lie and say 41. No one's looking. Like Joe Buck. I'm looking back at a lot of the answers. Damn it!
I've been sitting on this game show take for a while. It's a pet peeve of mine, and it relates to the Family Feud. I do not like any game in which you can dominate for the first 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden the rules change, and the dollar value is triple, and the team that did nothing the entire game, they swoop in at the very end, and they win said game. Imagine if the NFL decided, hey, 4th quarter, touchdowns are worth triple the points. Imagine that. It's ridiculous.
Kirk Cousins Hall of Famer at that point.
Oh, my God.
Don't even get me started there.
Do you get 3 touchdown passes? I mean,
Don't the points escalate every game? I think the second one, the values are doubled. So it slowly increases. I think it's like points and then it's double and then it's triple. But like the single and double are not going to add up to enough to get you the 300 regardless.
Look, this is Greg's whole argument against the wild card, right? All over again. The idea that you could play 162 games and that really doesn't matter because someone could come in at the end and just overcome. But I submit to you, like Dan said, that's what makes baseball fun now is that everyone knows they're still in it, even if that deficit is huge. Same thing in Family Feud. You could get your ass kicked like Pablo for most of the game.
They were terrible. They were terrible all game, and he got the ending, the dream ending, but they were really bad all game.
That's great drama. That's great TV.
Isn't the Moneyball something that you like in the 3-point shooting contest? Don't you like, is that different?
yeah, it's not an official game, you know? It's just it's a contest. Different than a game, you know?
You got to respect the game show. Like it's not, that's the official
Respect the game, yeah.
But Stugots, to be fair, neither is what Pablo did. That's not real Family Feud. That's celebrity Family Feud. They're playing for charity.
Right.
No one's actually playing with stakes, right? Real families.
Yes.
They play for stakes. They're
That's
like,
right.
man, I need this money. This
Yep.
is going to fund the college education, perhaps.
Bring an uncle, bring a cousin, bring a brother, bring a sister. Otherwise, not the real Family Feud. I'm with Amin on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to win a Dodge Caravan or it doesn't count. But to Stugotz's point, it's the slacker mentality, right? We're rewarding the slacker who does a light jog throughout the whole game and thinks he can speed up at the end and all of a sudden win the grand prize. No, the beginning counts too. You got to pay your dues, slacker.
I should be a fan of this.
Right? You just realized that. you just realized you should absolutely be the guy who gets the lollygag all game, stroll in, and at the end he gets to be the hero.
You were asking yesterday when we played the clip of Pablo, it's like that's the best feeling that you can ever have coming back. And like this is not a popular, probably correct vision or take to have on the situation, but I was like, yeah, if Pablo won that money for himself, he'd probably be happier, right? Like, it's nice. It's nice.
Of course.
It's nice to win for charity, right? But, like, also very low stakes. Like, worst case, like,
Sorry, David Chang. Your charity doesn't get like this $50,000.
If he won it for himself, I think he'd be a lot happier.
Dude, I would have been doing laps around the studio, and then I would have been pointing at all my family members like, you screwed up, you screwed up,
Yeah.
you screwed up. I won this.
Wait, I have a question for the rich people in the room. So if you win a game show and you win $25,000 for charity for someone else, does that become a tax write-off for you?
I don't have any experience in this. I imagine David Sampson will be able to answer this question for us. We will ask him as our resident financial expert in a second. I saw that David Sampson was also, I believe at Meadowlark Media, there was no one who was actually happier for Pablo in that situation than David Sampson. I saw no other happiness anywhere in our building for Pablo, and it struck me as super strange because this is a moment I believe any of us would have loved having. Mina Kimes, I believe when you guys talk about the money of this, Mina Kimes, the most valuable thing for her here is either look good playing or don't look bad. Not money for charity, not money for herself. Just don't make a fool of yourself or be great enough that people think you're great at this. And they made fools of themselves before Pablo rescued them. They were terrible. Nobody got any answers right. Like they didn't get any
Out of touch with society.
Their answers were so Ivy League that they were good answers, but not for the 100 people surveyed. It's like first thing you buy if you leave your wife or girlfriend. And somebody said car. It was the number one answer, muscle car. But then they went motorcycle. which I think is a decent answer, but it got the big X like many of their answers did because they were not doing common person.
Yeah, you got to dumb it down.
Dumb it down.
Oh.
No,
What
I'm
is that
serious.
supposed to mean?
Look, I'm not, there's nothing against the people voting in Family Feud. I've never been asked to vote on a subject, but you got to think in terms of who are the 100 people voting. And chances are they're not Ivy Leaguers. That's all I mean.
This was like a buzzer beater for Pablo for nerds, right? Like, because he's never played real basketball before. Like, this must feel like when you let that thing go and then all of a sudden you see it and it's like going into the hoop and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to hit this. Boom, and it goes in and he's like, let's go.
Tony, I'll do you one better. It's a half-court buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it was over. This is a Hail Mary heave that he threw, and he just went
off the glass.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty easy question, though, in all fairness.
Yeah.
Yep.
You would have got it wrong.
50-cent piece.
Well, I think for myself. I don't think in terms of what would 100 people say.
Well, but that's the game they're playing.
What would 100 Greg
I'd be
say?
bad at that game.
It's not. Wait a minute. I like that game. I like what would 100 Greg say?
That's good. A little wordy for a game show title.
It would say me.
Yes, it would just say me again and again. David Sampson is with us now.
Oh my God, I'm going to hit this. Somebody hit this. Boom, and it goes in. He's like, let's go.
Oh.
Turn down that
Little
sound,
play-by-play.
Billy.
Yeah, call
I
it.
appreciate
It was me.
that reminder, Tony. Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is Pablo winning Family Feud like a buzzer beater for nerds? Because I think Jeopardy might be that, but I also think that Family Feud can qualify. Sampson, can you hear us? Nothing Personal is the name of his podcast. Why do you seem to be like the only person at Meadowlark Media who is happy for Pablo Torre?
I can't imagine why everyone wasn't happy watching one of our own kick some serious Celebrity Family Feud ass. Now, of course, it is way easier to be a great closer when your starter stinks, and David was so bad in the first round, but Pablo did it under pressure. Congratulations. I loved it.
I wouldn't say he kicked ass. He got one good answer that saved the day.
Well, no, he went into the final round and he needed 150 points because David Chang was so bad. He needed 150 points.
But he wasn't a closer. He played the entire game. He was terrible all game long.
No, but David is right, though. When you do that, when you're in that situation, it means all the number one answers have been left for you. It was easy. That was an easy run for Pablo.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And
Although
the questions were actually easy for Pablo, and I was thinking about on Celebrity Family Feud, did they survey people with the easier questions? Penny is such an obvious answer that I figured David would have done it in the first round, but when it was available with no buzzer, Pablo was saying, oh my God, I can't believe that I got to say Penny.
Well, you say it's easier. Put this on the poll as well, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is Celebrity Family Feud or the real Family Feud or a real Family Feud? Because both teams were so bad, the sudden death question they had to go to, in which they had to answer one question correctly quicker than the other person, is what color do you associate with camouflage?
Oh, come on.
Yes.
That's tricky.
Green. Whoa.
Not red?
Top
Could be
one
brown.
answer on the board.
Could be brown. What was the answer? Green and brown make up camouflage. Yeah. They're equal partners.
They're not equal partners.
We surveyed 100 Greg Codys.
It is. It's a great game because somebody would answer that Greg and get it wrong because the correct answer is brown.
Am I the only one who associates camouflage with green and brown in equal measure?
I feel like creating a whole menu of questions, asking Greg, and then we should play Family Feud. What do 100 Greg Codys say when surveyed?
Let's do that, Greg. During one of the breaks, let's figure out how to play what 100 Gregs have been
do that
surveyed.
next week,
Yes.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
not next
I
week.
would also
Next
point
segment.
out that wish granting is not based on the amount of the coin dropped in the fountain. It is not that rich people get their wishes granted more than poor people. It's not
Seems like
about
they do.
penny versus dime versus a 50-cent piece.
Okay, we've all looked in a fountain, right? I question whether penny is the correct answer. Okay, I see a lot of quarters in there. I see a lot of silver. I don't see many pennies in a fountain.
There's a lot of
I
green
question
coins,
the
too.
idiot who throws the silver in, wasting the 49 cents.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Do rich people get wishes granted more than poor people? I think you're going to lose this one, David. I think
you guys tell us. I mean,
I'm saying it's not correlated to the value of the coin that's placed in the fountain.
I think it is. I mean, it makes common sense that it would be, right? You know, if you invest a lot of money in a stock and the money hits and the stock hits, you win more money than if you invest $1 in a penny stock, right?
The genie of the wishing well is a capitalist as well, David.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll. Yes. Is the genie of the wishing well a capitalist as well at Le Batard Show? And also put on the poll, is your fountain wish more likely to be granted if you throw more money in?
Well, it's like buying a raffle ticket. You could buy 1 or you could buy 50. If you're doing a 50-cent piece, you're 50 tickets to this raffle. David, I have a serious question for you. On game shows where money is won for charity, who gets the write-off? Is it the game show or is it the winner of the money that then goes to charity in their name?
No, the game show. The game show is the nation. The only way you get a write-off is if you take your money and donate it. So if Pablo won $25,000 for himself, he would pay taxes on that as though it's income. And then he could give away $25,000, and then you get to write off half. But long story short, no. Pablo got nothing from that other than permanent Feud street cred.
Let me ask you a couple of questions from things going on in the world. I want to get to the Diddy story in a second. Can you guys share what you're laughing about, or is that you guys doing a private show that can't be shared, and so you're just enjoying each other's company and disrupting what it is that I'm doing?
Well, I just fed him in his ear. What a waste of charity work. Yeah. No write-off. What are you even doing it for?
Is there any particular reason? Usually that seat spits that line into the microphone instead of backs away from the microphone laughing. Usually the way that works is it goes from Billy to Stugotz and then gets said, not you enjoy the show so much privately that you distract me.
He's a funny guy. What can I say?
Yeah, but he was giving you a line. He wasn't trying to be funny for you. He was giving you something to say on air.
I'm not a professional comedian.
He wanted you to slip it in. Back to you, Dan.
You're a professional broadcaster, allegedly. The Tennessee football story, not the Titans, okay, who have become the first team since 2002 to go consecutive games with a block punt, a fumble, and an interception. But the college Tennessee Volunteers, who are exceptional, they are now adding a 10% surcharge to their ticket, and that stadium is full every Saturday. So that's a lot of money, and it's just to buy players. I love the overt capitalism of this, David, but I can't imagine that people aren't going to become, A, uncomfortable with the overt capitalism of this, and that this is going to keep getting better or worse, depending on your perspective.
It's actually fantastic marketing by Tennessee. Think about what fans want. If they're going to games, they're spending their money. They want good players. They want a good team. They don't want to go see their crappy home team. So Tennessee is saying, listen, we're going to have to pay our players here, and it's happening now. You all wanted it. You've got it. But if you want us to get the best players, we're going to have to pay the most, so we're going to charge you. It is the dream for an owner or for a university, because now they're the same as owners, to do PSLs or to do ticket surcharges, to find a way to get the customer to pay more. It's like when Uber would charge a fuel surcharge, or the airplanes do. Everyone's looking to pass costs along to the final consumer. And what better consumers are there than college football fans who will pay anything in order to watch their team, and they want their team to be good. So I think this was just smart of them to come out and say it.
Smart and just the start, correct? Because now this is going to get more and more aggressive, where you can make it a 20% surcharge. If you're in Texas and you want to keep up with Tennessee, you can make it a 30% surcharge.
Well, again, you're making up percentages. It doesn't matter. You can increase your ticket prices and allocate any amount of money you want to players, and then not do endowed science chairs. But Karen Carpenter said it. We've only just begun. You want to see NIL? You wanted players to be employees. You wanted players to get paid. It's here. It's happening.
David, I'm curious what you think of this idea, because we're seeing it in the NFL now. Is private equity going to come into college football in a way where an Elon Musk type billionaire all of a sudden owns 30% of the Michigan Wolverines or any other college?
Hey, Greg, it's happening now. Jay Williams just did a panel, and he said he wants to buy 49% of the Duke basketball program. And there are programs out there right now trying to raise money in order to pay the players over the table. And now you have private equity firms. Stephen Ross, right in your hometown, wants to sell part of the Dolphins. And the way to get the best valuation may be to go to a private equity firm. But the thing that people aren't focusing on is that Steve Ross, good example. Let's say his team is worth $7 billion plus the Grand Prix and everything else. PE firms want investment returns. And do you think the Dolphins will be worth $10 billion, $13 billion? Is there a bubble coming? Because PE firms are not interested in sports per se. They're interested in a return. But it is a new source of money that is going to be gotten for owners.
It is fairly amazing to see that Phil Knight was getting the Oregon Ducks cheap and was way ahead of the curve, because this has already been in play for a while, but now it's getting more competitive and it's about to get crazy because Phil Knight has Nike has basically owned that program for a while now. But I want to play some sound for you here, David, of what the results are of this. I'm going to go out to Colorado. This is a 4-win team, and it's super interesting what's happening around Colorado for a lot of reasons. Listen to what Deion Sanders is saying is one of the results of the fact that now these are no longer amateurs. They are paid professionals.
When I say I genuinely love these kids, I genuinely really do. It's not about what they can do for me on the football field. Is about what I can help them with in life. Landscape has changed in football. Once upon a time, you guys never attacked college players. Now they're making more money than y'all. And some of y'all are envious and jealous about that. So you're on the attack. It was hands off a college player because he's an amateur. Remember that, guys? Now it's hands on. Go at them any kind of way you want. They're making more money than me, and I'm mad about it. When you attack them, these guys are sensitive. They've never been attacked. They hadn't gone through what a grown man, what I've been going through with y'all for years. They haven't done that. So it is what it is. I know you're going to do your job and what you must do, but your job does not say attack. The personal stuff, leave it to be personal, because if we start flipping the script on y'all, you wouldn't like it. I can easy. Thank you, Lord, for stopping me there. Whoo, that was almost a good one. That would have went viral.
David, he is so right on all of that. The biggest divider between the athlete and the customer is money. And when he spits at the reporters, you're jealous because they're making more money than you. This is something that infects sports.
I'm sorry, I must be confused here. Are you saying that the media's never gone after college players until they started getting overtly paid? There were no negative articles written about the Hurricanes or the Gators or the Badgers or the Wolverines prior to this time period?
Groups are criticized. Players individually, generally we treated them as kids.
Well, I would only say that if we take child actors as an example, when you give too much money to people who are too young and you don't have protections around them, bad things happen. Bad things have been happening around college sports for as long as I've been alive, for as long as I can remember. There's an entire new FX series that Dominique Foxworth was a part of about Aaron Hernandez and what went on when he was in Florida. I'm not sure that it's in anyone's top 5 list that they are protective of players, whether they're being paid or not.
I want to show you what it is that happens when you start giving this kind of fame to young people. Let's play this video of Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders, his son, just going to school. Now, this is something obviously that has happened for college quarterbacks for a long time, but the way that young people are now around fame feels reminiscent of how it is they were behaving around the Beatles a long time ago. Look at this. That was Greg laughing at you giving him a line?
The Beatles had a lot more people. I mean, that's a nice crowd, but that's not Beatlemania. I was there in
Beatles?
1963, believe me. Yes, of course. Beatlemania.
Dan, I'll be honest with you, man. I saw Peter Warwick back in the day, and he got bigger crowds than that. Come on, what are you talking? Beatles?
The Beatles? That was 7 women at the street corner. That was like when Ron Dane would walk through Madison.
A great reference by both of you. There.
Heisman Trophy winner.
Ron Dane and Peter Warwick is what you guys did. Yes, put it on the poll. Are Ron Dane and Peter Warwick like the Beatles at Le Batard Show? The larger point is, though, David, that you give young people this kind of celebrity given to any kind of people can be distorting in ways that are corruptive. Giving it to young people seems to be a bit of a sickness.
This has been going on for a century. I'm just not understanding what your point is. Go back to the Different Strokes cast or the Mickey Mouse Club. So are you saying that right now college athletes are way more famous than they've ever been? I would argue there's TikTokers that are 1,000 times more well-known.
David, I'm saying the combination of fame, money, and power are corrosive to any human being. Given it to 18-year-olds in a way, it's the combination of things that can be dangerous. You're disputing that?
I'm just saying it's not new. That's not an NIL take. That's a take that you don't want any sort of youth to be involved.
The money is new. The combination of things, the criticism that is individuals, the attacks of the media about money. These things are new.
I'll tell you what the new part is. The new part is that every single one of those kids has access to everybody's opinion at any moment in their pocket. That's the new part. That's the part that I think also Deion confuses, which is what is the difference between being attacked by the media, which would be Greg Cody writes a column about how some kid sucks, versus people tweeting, you suck. That's two different things, and it's not a function of whether the kids are getting paid or not. It's a function of we have this technology that allows everybody to say their opinion at any moment and anybody to devour all of everyone's opinions all at once, constantly 24/7.
I can tell you guys this, though, 20 years doing the show with Dan, until the kids started to get paid, and he's still hesitant to do it, Dan would not rip college players. He would not rip their performance on the field. I would, but Dan would not.
Do you have, I don't feel like you ever do that even now.
Well, it was a rule I had, but sports radio changed that with college kids. Coming up, I never criticized a kid by name. I didn't think that was right.
Well, my mentor at the Miami Herald, Edwin Pope, had a personal policy to not name a player who had just been beaten for a game-losing touchdown pass, for example. Would not do it. Everything has changed, and money is a large part of it. Deion Sanders makes a couple of great points. I disagree that it's a jealousy, envy thing, but it's by large amount a money thing, right? I mean, we judge everybody and criticize everybody relative to their income. That's why Trevor Lawrence is under a lot more pressure than Brock Purdy right now, because he just got paid and he's still not playing that well. So when a previously amateur college player is now making tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, yes, he is subject to more criticism, to more spotlight than he used to be.
David, can you tell me, we'll move on to other subjects here because I did want to get to some other things. It seems to me, based on allegations that I'm reading yesterday, that maybe Diddy's got extraordinary lawyers and maybe rich people usually historically can get out of just about anything with their money. But what I read from the details yesterday, that seemed like that's someone who's not getting out of prison. And when you don't give him bail, like I thought he was a flight risk before. I thought he was going to go the Russell Simmons route as soon as this started closing in on him. When you're reading the details on Diddy, does this seem like someone who's going to be in prison for a long time?
I think it's totally irresponsible to answer that. But what I will say is that he is going to not have an opportunity to get a plea deal. And the reason I think that this will go through a trial is because they want to make an example. They want him in prison for life, and no one accepts a plea for life unless the alternative is capital punishment. But what's in the indictment is damning, and that's how all indictments are. But now you have to go prove it in front of a jury of your peers. And proof is not 1,000 bottles of oil. As crazy as it is, and what we heard about the freak-offs and how awful and disgusting and disturbing, that's not our justice system. You have to get into court and get people to see what happened and prove what happened beyond the reasonable doubt, which is super hard to do. But I'll tell you, from a optic standpoint, he lost already. But from a in jail for life standpoint, that remains to be seen.
David, you say you don't expect the plea deal to happen. However, a lot of I read through some of the court filings, and it seems like they have a lot of this has been captured by a camera in his house, and he has information of other people who have participated in illicit activities ranging in severity. Couldn't there be a plea deal in which he flips on all these other people?
Well, no, it's hard to have the guy at the top isn't the one who does the flipping. You try to get people below to flip in order to get the guy at the top, and you give people below a smaller sentence. P. Diddy is the top. He's the one who they want. So now there could be a plea deal if they say, hey, listen, let's do 25 years without the possibility of parole. And his lawyer says, you go to trial, you're risking life and you're going to live more than 25 years. So I guess there's always a scenario where a plea deal could happen. But if I'm P. Diddy, I'm probably not accepting 25 years. I'd rather take my chances and hope that my celebrity wins the day. But it is not a good day to be P. Diddy.
It's Diddy. That's a fine.
It is Diddy. He's been federally indicted on counts of sex trafficking, racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution. The prosecutors asserted that women believed they simply couldn't refuse Diddy's demands without physical or emotional abuse or without fearing that their financial security would be put at risk. David, when you say it's hard to get a conviction, generally speaking, don't federal indictments of this kind usually end up in a conviction or a penalty about 80% of the time? It seems like it'd be the opposite of hard to do. This kind of thorough coming after Diddy, because they waited a long time. This has been an investigation that seems like it's super thorough.
But grand juries do that all the time, Dan. You just have heard of Diddy. That's why this is getting your attention. Of course, you don't put down an indictment unless you think you're going to win. The prosecutors have statistics. They want to win. And so getting a grand jury to agree to indict and doing the indictment and doing the arrest and all the processes. But you're only in the third inning right now. And that's it. When it comes to this case, there's a lot more that has to happen. But again, you've given up 5 runs in the first if you're Diddy.
P. Diddy, more like plea Diddy.
Oh,
so close. I stumbled right at the end. Plea Diddy. Penalty. Send me away, Dan.
Yeah. I don't need your permission
Minor
for that.
penalty, 2 minutes. Stumbling.
Plea Diddy.
Right. Yeah. More like plea Diddy.
Said it 4 times.
You workshopped it in my ear. I said, go with it, Stugots. This is a good one.
Really good.
Samson, you mentioned the Aaron Hernandez, Dominique Foxworth vehicle. You have watched the entire thing?
I have.
And your thoughts?
I don't know if I can say that, but yes, I have watched all 10 episodes, and I would simply say to everyone out there, and this is not because of Dominique, although he wrote episode 5, which is phenomenal. He's the staff writer on the other 9 episodes. It's a fantastic series. It caught me in episode 1, which is available now, the first 2, and you don't want to stop. While you have to wait a week in between, which stinks, this is not your normal Aaron Hernandez story where they're just sort of telling you everything you know. Even if you know his story, you're going to learn stuff. And if you don't know his story, then you really are going to be intrigued. But congratulations to Dominique. It's phenomenal. Every episode is tight, and most series can't say that.
Yeah, you know what else I thought was tight? My relationship with Dominique. David Sampson got the screener and I didn't get it. I see how it is.
Samson, good talking to you. Nothing Personal is the name of the podcast. Every day at 8 a.m. he does a live show on YouTube. Find it. He's doing stuff no one else is doing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
we have what I believe to be possibly the most unusual Woj bomb of all time. I had to, and this part's exhausting, check and recheck and recheck and recheck to make sure that it was fact, because yesterday I got fooled by Adam Scheffler reporting that Cam Newton was working out for the Carolina Panthers.
Scheffler.
But this seems to be real because it's coming from Woj's own account, and it seems like Woj is leaving the information business. And I think this is genuinely shocking because I believe he just signed a 9-figure deal, did he not? The information guy is more valuable than he's ever been. The information guy is made more crazy than ever by the intensity around that job. And the statement, can you guys update me? Because we've just been checking and rechecking to make sure that this news is real. And it seems like Woj is getting out of ESPN to be the general manager of St. Bonaventure?
The Bonnies.
Tony?
It's also NIL allocation, recruiting, and supporting successful Bonnies coach Mark Schmidt. But, like, you're doing all those things now as kind of like your second act in your career. It's just a weird time, no?
Oh, this feels like there's something else. The job has either made him crazy or his family crazy, and he's got to keep everything together because this is not in any way a promotion. This is not, it might be a good job to somebody, but this is a job that wouldn't pay somebody very much money at all.
Dan, when you get a chance to turn around the Bonnies, you take that chance. You do. I mean, it's not every day that Woj is offered an opportunity to turn around St. Bonaventure, one of the great college basketball programs of all time. I mean,
can you please help me know what that job pays? Does that job even pay $500,000 a year? The job he just stepped to.
I'll be honest. First of all, like typically no, but again, we live in an NIL era. I don't know if people get a cut of the NIL money. Kind of like, hey, how much does a morning radio show host make? All right, now how much does a morning radio show host make when they get a cut of the sales? The way that like Mike Greenberg.
It ain't
going
to be $10 to $12 million a year that they're paying on the open market for someone like Woj in the information business.
But probably at a school like St. Bonaventure, probably not.
It's probably not a tenth of that.
Probably not, but again, I don't know.
Should we be that shocked, though? Because, yes, he gets paid a lot of money, but this is an easier lifestyle. Like, I've talked to Adam Schefter about his life. We talked to Diana Rossini yesterday about what she goes through and, you know, how her kids are putting her wallet in the microwave, and she doesn't know because she's chasing down an NFL story. And so he has a chance to go back to a place where he went to school, be the GM of a basketball program. It reminds me of what John Wildhack did, who was the former president at ESPN.
Vice president.
Or vice president. Went back to Syracuse to be their AD. And I think it was just an easier, better lifestyle, you know?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, Wildhack, I believe, was a Syracuse alum. Adrian is a St. Bonaventure alum. Syracuse, although Stugotz, kind of a bigger deal with a bigger budget program than St. Bonaventure.
You can't say to me, none of you can say to me, this isn't shocking. Like, you're not allowed to say to me that this is not a shocking thing that has just happened. This is, in our industry, something that is absolutely shocking. Like, you can't say you're not surprised by this.
The suddenness of it, for me, I mean, were there any rumors about something going on with him and ESPN? Not that I heard. It just, the suddenness of it is what shocks me. And the suspicious mind would say there's got to be something behind this because who leaves? He's one of the biggest celebrities in sports journalism. He's going to disappear on the staff of Bonaventure. I'm sorry, great basketball program or not, he is going to disappear.
That's not a shocking statement either. You are also right about that.
Tread lightly, Greg.
Apologize, Greg.
I think that for everyone listening to this, there are what, 5 of these in sports media? 5. He is the king of this with Schefter, with Shams, with Jay Glazer, with Diana Rossini. There are not very many of these.
Good day for Shams, huh?
I'm surprised he didn't break the news.
Beat me to the joke.
Maybe he told Woj.
That would have been so great.
You guys, I don't think that it has to be seen as suspicious to simply say that the lifestyle is not healthy. Let's play this Diana Rossini sound. She got buried, by the way. The internet buried her. She has gotten so good at all of this, not just the information business, but the personality business. And what is happening right now in America that's really divided among the genders gets her buried yesterday by a whole lot of people telling her that her caring about her career and not her husband's career is not something a wife should be doing. And so you had a whole lot of misogyny that buried what is a richly deserving personality from getting all of the attention and fame that she deserves from this job because of how well she does it and because she said this about her husband.
Walking around the link after you were fired just 7-8 months ago. I think that's wild that he had such courage. I don't even like to go to Philly after a loss, and I have nothing to do with it.
But he's with Belichick.
Just the general energy, just the energy of it.
Yeah, I just don't want to be around those people. Like even just this morning, my husband said 2 words to me. He's an Eagles fan. And I'm like, this can't be a thing. Like I don't want to be the household that is shaped by the result of a football game. Like, A, grow up. B, you're a father. I don't want our children having a culture where mommy and daddy's tone in this house is based on the result of the Philadelphia Eagles. Who cares? So stupid.
Isn't it a case, though, where while we don't want daddy to be moping around because the Eagles lost, we also don't want mommy moping around because she missed the call on some offensive coordinator breaking news?
And the house is on fire.
I bring it up all the time. I said, I don't care about the wins and losses.
Right.
All this house should be focused on is how to give me ability to do my job at a better level. I've asked him to quit. I'm like, I don't care about your job. I don't care about your career goals. I don't care that you work 50 hours a day.
Poor
and
guy.
that you have contributed really. He gives everything to the company. He works for Shake Shack. He does so much for this company. I want him to quit, but he won't do it because something about just like personal growth or something.
Dan, I swear to God, when you said she got buried, I thought it was about her toddler playing with candles that's a thing. You pointed out yesterday. I was like, finally, someone mentions it because she put it in passing. Like, the little one likes to blow out candles like it's a birthday. She just lights up candles and blows them out. And so the smoke is going. And my husband's like, there's smoke. And I'm like, yeah, it's candles again. And I'm like, what? This is just a regular thing?
I'm telling you that lifestyle is a mental health calamity. I would not want it no matter how much it pays. I'm telling you, I've told you before, that when I had to be in the news breaking business in my early 20s, I was sobbing at midnight in the Miami Herald bathroom because I hated so very much competing with others for information. I would not want to do that job, and I'm imagining that Shams and Adam Schefter, that they're looking at Woj and they're jealous of finally he got out of the insane asylum of what this is, that we're beholden to the money and the addiction of we have to be in our phone 23 out of 24 hours a day.
Dan, counterpoint. How do you think he adjusts to life outside of Shawshank? Everyone thinks it's awful inside of Shawshank, and then you get outside and you realize, oh, I can't live in this world where I'm not constantly in the middle of everything and texting people.
Yeah, but what's waiting for him is St. Bonaventure.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good counter.
Weaning yourself off of this addiction cold turkey is very difficult, and I've got to think that it is either him trying to love himself or someone around him who's like, get out of that business. It is a disaster. And he just signed, like he's getting out at his most valuable. He's getting out at the time that these people are paid more and more valued than they've ever been. And it's not close to what it used to be. This job, I remember, I'm not kidding you. We were in Australia at the Olympics, and Woj was doing a 6th story for the Bergen Record at midnight about some local bobsledder who had finished in 4th place. And at the time, I'm walking through the media center at midnight with like a bottle of tequila yelling at Woj, "You're doing it all wrong, Woj. You shouldn't be here at midnight doing that 6th story." From there, he would have never imagined a career that paid even $500,000 a year or $250,000 a year. For him to get out when the information person is more valuable than they've ever been, I don't think it's suspicious. I think it's everything to do with lifestyle happiness. That is a job that it's almost impossible to be happy in.
If I had to guess, I would agree with you. To lend to what you're saying, he signed a 5-year, $35 million contract. He's walking away from that.
Just shy of the 9 figures.
Okay, I thought that Schefter, it's my bad. I think Schefter's at 10 or 11 or $12 million a year. They're more valuable than they've ever been.
So you were walking around drinking on the job, covering
Yes.
the Olympics is what I was gathering from that story?
Well, it was after hours. It was midnight.
The Miami Herald runs a notoriously loose ship.
What is the what is like the media center situation at the Olympics like? Because we hear about like where the athletes stay, like those dorms. What is like the media interaction?
It's just a warehouse. It's a giant warehouse.
So what kind of
content.
scandals go on? What kind of scandalous stories go on that everyone's like, hey, hush, hush, we can't talk about any of this stuff?
Why are you nodding at Greg?
The problem with Woj and his job that he just got out of is that it's never after hours. Like, he's on call 24 hours a day. Believe me, I covered the University of Miami football for 5 years in the late 80s, mid to late 80s.
You hated it, and
it
were
was terrifying.
and you were bad at it.
I was bad at it, and I hated it. And the first thing I would do every morning is get up and read the Miami News to see if they had beaten me on a significant story. And the biggest joy of my professional life is when I got done with the UM beat, and a couple of years later I became a columnist. Not because it was a perceived promotion or raise, but because I no longer had the stress level of covering a major beat for what was then a major paper. It's debilitating.
I mean, you looked at me and thought it was mean for me to say that he was bad at it. I was also bad at it. It's hard to do, and it is unsettling. Your mind never rests when your job depends on having more information than the next person, and you're competing against someone like Shams, who might not have a family, who might not have to pay attention to other things in his life other than the breaking of news, and you taught him everything he knows. Like, it is, you don't think it's exhausting. You don't think it's anything.
I'm not disagreeing with that it's exhausting. I'm disagreeing with some of the things that you're saying, and as you're trying to explain that it's exhausting, I think everyone finds the right balance and the right rhythm in doing this. And the reality is, when you two did this job, it was way more stark, because when you got beat, you didn't know until, like Greg said, you pick up the paper next morning, how did I miss this story? Now a guy gets beat by like 30 seconds. Nobody cares who broke the news. Nobody knows who broke the news. So why do we care?
Well, because we pay them like we care.
No,
Right.
but that's a problem with our industry. It's not a problem with their life or whatever. It's the information. Look, I guarantee you the people, the Jimmy Pitaro and friends, they don't know. They don't know. If I ask them right now, yo, who broke Paul George signing with the Clippers 4 years ago? Jimmy doesn't know. He doesn't know.
No, but this is not the. This is not the.
He assumes, though. I mean,
He assumes. So if we can build a mythology that says I'm the guy that breaks it first every single time, without actually being beholden to that, in this era, in this context, Dan, there is no accountability for it. Versus when you guys were doing it, we knew who broke the story because we woke up in the morning, picked up this paper, and it had it, and your paper didn't.
This is the part that matters, though, that I think that you're missing. The thing that ESPN is buying there isn't did you break this story or that story. It's in the age of misinformation, we've got a credible one. We've got one that if he says it, it is right and everyone knows it. That's what they're paying for.
And guess what? There's more of those guys out there that you can go get right now, and you're going to have the same reputation.
I don't think so. I think there's
Well,
a
there's
reason
one.
there's only 5 of them. I don't think that anyone and everyone can do
Dude,
that.
I'm going to give you a great example. Jeff Passan is one of those guys, right, on the baseball side. When did that happen for Jeff Passan? Like where he got cemented at that level?
I would say that it happened about 5 or 6 years ago, and
That's a relatively short amount of time.
But they're not everywhere. Passan is one of the best I've ever seen at journalism. They're not everywhere.
I'm not knocking Jeff. Jeff's great. I'm just saying that you're like, oh, where are we going to find one? Guess what? They are everywhere. You just don't know about them yet.
I think there are only a precious few. I'm with Dan. And I think ESPN helps with their credibility.
That's
Once
what it
you get
is.
there, Woj got to ESPN from Yahoo, I believe, and once he got to ESPN, became the most credible guy. Shams has been able to pull it off. Schefter would tell you that ESPN helped him immensely in terms of his credibility. So maybe there are other people doing it, but to Dan's point, I don't believe the story until I read it from Schefter or Rossini. I just don't.
Look, I get it. We're not, but again, a lot of that is being the cosign of having the worldwide leaders say, this is the guy or this is the gal. That's how it goes down. Shams goes to ESPN tomorrow. Chris Haynes goes to ESPN tomorrow. You're not losing sleep. You're getting the same kind of reputation, albeit it might take a little time to build to that level that where Adrian is, but it's the same type of reporting and the same type of reputation. The biggest thing that they've ever allowed to do is, and I apologize to any of my friends who are newsbreakers when I say this, we allowed milk producers to brand themselves. It's milk. There's no such thing as, let me get that brand of milk over. It's milk. It's milk. It doesn't matter. We don't know. There's 1 billion cows producing this milk. And, Fairfield Farms is out of business. So what? I'm just grabbing the next one.
Your apology seems insincere when you take out milk and make all of your news gatherers totally disposable.
The news is milk.
Cows.
It's a commodity.
They're all cows.
They're not cows. The cows are whatever the sources are, right? It's in economics, they have this term called commodities, right? Commodities are things that are not, you don't care. There is no brand of gold. It's just gold, right? Versus there are brands of sneakers, there are brands of computers, there are brands of phones. These are things where, yes, I can brand differentiate between one product and the next. With a commodity, corn, wheat, it's just stuff where I get it from here or there. Now, people try to brand. They try to brand we've got the best. Idaho has the best potatoes, or Nebraska has the best corn. But the reality is, the consumer does. I'm sorry if I'm getting too highbrow for you guys.
I don't think it's highbrow.
It's not highbrow, but I also think you're sitting next to someone that could probably only eat a specific type of egg. Where I'd say eggs are eggs, they come from chickens. But then, what did we feed the chicken before?
Free-range chickens.
Almond milk,
right?
there's oat milk, there's lactose
intolerant
milk, a lot of milk.
You're right. There are a lot of milks, but you don't care who the brand is. It's not like Jacob's great oat milk. This is the only oat milk you should drink.
I prefer Oatly. I prefer
Oatly over what?
I like MacArthur.
All other oat milk.
All other. Name other.
I like MacArthur.
Yes.
I was going to go
that's a
Velda Farms. I was
Farms.
trying to think of milk. I was trying to think of milk brands. What is the leader in milk? Who's the leader in milk?
There is no leader
That's
in milk.
his
Yeah,
point.
That's my point.
Felda Farms.
Unless you allow someone to tell you, I'm the leader of milk. My milk is the best.
Where's Jeremy? He's been gone for an hour.
I was going to say, you said we don't want to talk about baseball, and we've been trying to get to baseball, and you just kind of sent him away. He's been gone almost the entire time.
It's really spectacular to think that after all of this, there's been all these rule changes, and that's what they wanted. They wanted the pace of the game to be better. I've been sitting here on this couch for longer than a game of baseball takes. Greg Cody has a Hall of Fame vote. He probably can't even name a single Detroit Tiger, and the Tigers are on the verge of potentially making the playoffs. Jackson Merrill, who I mentioned before, how about Jackson Churio? He's only 20 years old. A 2020
What a
season.
terrible job for his therapist.
I'd rather talk about milk, honestly.
I want to talk about baseball, but no one else wants to talk about baseball. So let's go to some Dancing with the Stars.
Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt has a 30-30 season. He's the only shortstop ever with 2 30-30 seasons ever. He's 24 years old. It's unbelievable to think that Shohei's going to 50-50. Bobby Witt.
I think Dwight Howard won Dancing with the Stars just by he looks beautiful, and in being bigger than anyone else out there, he makes everything look a lot easier on Dancing with the Stars than it should be. Look at this. Now, the music helps this, and we can't play the music.
Let's recreate the music.
But tell me anyone's going to beat – no one's going to beat him here, correct? Thank you. I mean,
I got to tell you, it's more impressive without the music.
I mean, keep going. For
Sanford and Son.
There is a little Sanford and Son in there. Tony, do you believe that Dwight Howard won Dancing with the Stars last night? Because his ability to throw this woman around and make it look this easy, I don't believe anyone else is going to be able to do that.
It just looks weird because she's so much smaller than him that it like looks kind of fake. It looks like AI. If you tell me this was AI Dwight Howard dancing, I'm going to be like, you know what? I believe it. It's gotten really good.
Hey, Dwight, put on a shirt, will you? I mean, who goes on a national TV show and dances in a tank top?
Somebody who has a body like that. Anybody?
I think the entire show is shirtless people dancing.
We understand why you wouldn't, but Dwight.
Thank you. Are you kidding me? Button-down shirt for crying out loud.
Is Jeremy just going to spend all the time on the therapy couch talking
about Dwight Howard, a retired basketball player? They'd rather talk about a retired newsbreaker than the fact that Juan Soto and Aaron Judge each have 40 home runs this season. They're the only duo in Yankees history outside of Maris and Mantle and Ruth and Gehrig, and yet here we are talking about Dwight Howard dancing. It's just the most frustrating thing when they tell me that they want to talk about baseball, but then they tell me that later in the show they're going to talk about Dwight Howard of all people. It just doesn't.